You've got a live view inside the International Space Station Flight Control Room, where the Orbit 2 team is keeping tabs on the operation of space station systems and assisting the Expedition 55 crew members with their tasks as they near the end of another busy work week in space. Station Commander Anton Shkaplerov and flight engineers Scott Tingle and Norishige Kanai have been busy with a wide range of science experiments on orbit this week. They've also been using the station's TV systems and their social media accounts to keep in touch with Earth and share living and working in Earth orbit.
Houston Station on Space to Ground.
Welcome to Space to Ground. I'm Dan Hewitt. The science continued this week on station with the crew of Expedition 55. Japanese astronaut Norishige Kanai installed a new infrared sensor in the station's advanced plant habitat to measure temperatures of the growing dwarf wheat over the next week. The automated plant growth chamber has been growing wheat and a plant called Arabidopsis for several weeks in ongoing efforts to improve our ability to cultivate crops in microgravity. And astronaut Scott Tingle took a few minutes to speak with students and faculty from his old college stomping grounds. Tingle spoke with a crowd at the University of Massachusetts Dartmouth and shared one pretty surreal example of how extreme astronaut training can be.
We're trained to offer first aid in many, many different scenarios. And we actually train in an emergency room for a couple of weekends, helping real-life people. And a short story, the one patient I had come in had his ear that had been cut off in a fight, and I actually sewed it on for him. So it was a pretty neat experience.
This week's Twitter question comes from Tata Fool, who wanted to know how often astronauts wash their clothes and need to change. Well, there's no laundry service on board the International Space Station, so they have to make their clothes last. Water is a very valuable resource in space, so there's no extra to use on washing clothes. Most dirty clothes get packed away on departing cargo ships to burn up in the Earth's atmosphere, along with any other trash and disposable items. As for how often they change, it varies between each crew member, with some wearing clothes for a few days at a time. Japanese astronaut Koichi Wakata wore some experimental clothes for a month straight, but they were designed to kill odor and bacteria and dry quickly. Keep sending your questions using the hashtag #SpaceToGround. We'll see you next week.
Learning how the microgravity environment impacts the human body, the heart, the bones, the eyes, that's one aspect of the life sciences research underway on the International Space Station. One more focus of research is the functioning of the human immune system while in space. And there's a new experiment underway on board to learn more about how that critical system will be affected during a future mission out into the solar system.
Your immune system in space. Presented by Science at NASA. Getting sick when you're far from home is a drag. You'd give anything to crawl into your own soft bed and sleep, but you're stuck in a cookie-cutter hotel room feeling like a sick fish out of water. Well, it could be worse. You could be an astronaut on the way to Mars, a really long way from mom's chicken soup. Future space travelers will need to stay healthy to perform well for their own safety and for mission success. So it's important to understand how extended space travel will affect them. The immune system works unnoticed to protect the body. But even subtle changes in that all-important system may be linked to the onset of illness. Factors like radiation, microgravity, stress, and altered sleep cycles could all affect astronaut immune systems. A new NASA study entitled Functional Immune will investigate the immune system changes that occur in International Space Station, or ISS, crew members. Understanding these immune system changes may help scientists pinpoint the onset of illness and suggest monitoring strategies or treatments that can boost the immune system and prevent full-blown infections and diseases here on Earth. Functional Immune builds upon the results of several previous NASA studies of the immune system, which, according to Johns Hopkins University scientist Dr. Mark Shellhammer, tell us there is no place during spaceflight where we see stabilization of the immune system. In 2014, NASA's Integrated Immune Study showed abnormalities can occur in immune cells in ISS crew members' blood during flight. Normally, the immune system attacks and eliminates virus-infected cells. When cell activity is depressed, the immune system isn't responding to threats as it should. When cell activity heightens, the immune system reacts excessively, which can result in illness, increased allergy symptoms, and persistent rashes. ISS crews were also observed to experience reactivation of latent viruses from childhood, a finding directly related to reduced immune function. The Integrated Immune Team, working with the NASA Nutrition Laboratory, also measured the concentration of cytokines in blood plasma, the proteins that marshal the forces to an infected or injured body site to defend against invaders. The data indicated that changes can be seen in blood cytokines just as changes can be seen in cell function. Dr. Brian Cruchon of NASA's Johnson Space Center, or JSC, principal investigator of the Functional Immune Study, says, "The immune system is very complex, and several aspects of immunity remain uninvestigated during spaceflight. We now need to delve deeper into the immune system changes that happen in space, and also determine if immune changes during flight elevate clinical risks for astronauts in future deep space missions. All the factors that change immunity on the ISS will be worse on longer missions to an asteroid or to Mars." Functional Immune includes NASA scientists and external collaborators at the Johnson Space Center Radiation Lab, the University of Houston, and the State University of New York. The study will reach beyond any previous space immune study and include exciting newer tests such as transcriptomics and proteomics. These tests will happen in parallel with the assessment of immune cells in blood, stress, and virus reactivation. Cruchon says with the ISS, we have a unique opportunity to study very healthy people in a quasi-isolation chamber, yet experiencing all the stressors that are specific to spaceflight. Results should help clarify the influence of spaceflight-specific environmental factors on immunity and identify countermeasures to mitigate their effects. These studies could improve scientists' understanding of the immune system, making a positive impact on human health at home and while traveling both near and far. For more from the International Space Station, go to www.nasa.gov/station. For more news about spaceflight and the strange things it does to the human body, visit science.nasa.gov.
On the subject of astronaut health in space, consider this. When you live in a place where your muscles don't even have to work against gravity, you need help with exercise. The astronauts on the International Space Station have a suite of exercise equipment at their disposal, including a treadmill. In this Speedy Time segment, astronaut Jack Fisher runs through the workout they get on the combined operational load-bearing external resistance treadmill in the station's Tranquility module.
Hello, and welcome back to Speedy Time. Today we're going to figure out how you get some aerobic exercise on the space station. One way is by running. We have a special treadmill. First off, we got to find it. Where is it? It's on the wall. How cool. We first get a heart rate monitor. Next, we get our super duper harness. Next off, we connect in to the T2 itself. These are very important because they simulate load that we would have on Earth, and they pull us to the treadmill. Otherwise, we'd just float off. We make sure that it's calibrated, and we start. A light jog.
A little higher pace.
We even have a mode called passive. You push it yourself. And then the coolest part of the whole thing is at the end of your workout, it gives you the miles traveled, not just the miles ran. So, using the speed of the space station, 17,500 miles an hour, you could go like, I don't know, 9,000 miles. That's a pretty good run.
Back before his flight last year, when he spent 136 days in space and made 2 spacewalks, astronaut Jack Fisher met a professional football player here at the Johnson Space Center. Devin Still came to NASA to learn about medical research in microgravity. He talked with Fisher about something the two of them have in common: young daughters who successfully fought cancer.
So when you was growing up, you always knew that you wanted to be an astronaut?
Was that always the goal, to make it to the NFL?
I wasn't the one that was strong. I got all my strength from my daughter.
She was stronger than us. My wife was talking to her, hey, I wish it was me. I'm sorry that you have to go through this. And she's like, hey, Ma, I got this. You know, just a tough little badass. That's the type of thing that turned it around, I think, for the whole family.
If you look at, our Instagram videos and stuff like that, there's not one video where you don't see my daughter smiling. Like, no matter what she was going through, she never let it show on her external, and that really motivated us. In order to beat this monster of a disease, we really all have to come together and share the information that we're able to gather to further the advancements in cancer research.
We don't have a cure, we don't have a solution to this. You can't do it alone. But if we all work together, hopefully we find something that can work.
That has to be pretty cool, though, being able to fly a plane.
Yeah, I guess. It's gotta be pretty cool being able to crush a small quarterback.
I think flying the plane is cooler than
See,
that.
I think crushing a quarterback's pretty cool. Obviously, I'm the creeper, creeping on football players. So. Yeah.
2017 was a robust year for research aboard Earth's only microgravity laboratory. There were 120 new scientific investigations conducted during the year, on top of the hundreds of others that had begun earlier. The International Space Station hosts more than 300 experiments during any given expedition, each working to further space exploration or benefit life back on Earth, or both. Here's a look back at just some of the science that happened on the orbiting laboratory in 2017. Flight engineer Scott Tingle is about halfway through his first space flight. The Expedition 55 crew members are due back on Earth in early June. Before he left Houston, we had a chance to talk to him about the career that has led him to this point and the inspiration he's gained at each step on the journey.
Okay, marker.
I was about 15 years old when I started playing guitar. And I started learning. I took lessons from my neighbor up the street. I got really good at it, and I really liked it. I was used to working with tools and doing math and things like that. And the guitar was just, it provided all of the things that I think I was lacking at the time. And what I love about it most is the fact that it can be loud, it can be a lot of stress relief, or it can be soft, it can be however you are feeling at the moment. It's a great projection of emotion. Well, when we first started, I was 16, 17 years old, and I met a few folks that had the same interests, and they asked me to join their band, which I did. And we started off playing a bunch of high schools, Battle of the Bands. We won a few of them. We wrote a lot of original music. And then as I got older and I was in college, we started to play a couple of colleges and more clubs in Boston, Kenmore Square area, as well as in Providence, Rhode Island. Actually, one of the songs that we had put together and recorded made it into the Boston Top 10 on a local album. Yeah, so team skills, very important in a rock band and in any kind of team effort. And, you know, there were times where the writers and the band wanted to go in a certain direction. There were different times the drummer wanted to go a different direction. There were times where I wanted to go in a different direction. And at the end of the day, we had to have a direction so that whatever we were doing would sound good. Some of these same skills I learned by being in a band, I still use today. You've got to have all those skills. You've got to be patient. You've got to be able to see the value in the other ideas that people offer and allow those to take a full fruition and come to make the program whole. I'm Scott Tingle, and I'm a NASA astronaut.
The International Space Station is the site of unparalleled science on orbit. It's generating benefits for those of us here on Earth and helping humans get prepared for our next step into space, out into the solar system. And there's another benefit. The station project has helped promote cooperation among the nations of the world while working on the most complex space exploration program ever undertaken.
10. It took 41 rocket launches just to bring the building materials to the construction site, and more than 100 other launches along the way to ferry up the human crew members and deliver the supplies they would need to live and work. The largest peacetime engineering and construction project in human history. And it wouldn't have happened if the nations of the world hadn't joined forces. But they did. And that cooperative spirit is alive and thriving right now on board the International Space Station. The major space agencies of the world each have their own independent exploration program. Yet they work together on one project that's vital to humankind's future in space. Operating a joint research laboratory and technology development station 250 miles above the Earth. The United States, Russia, Japan, Canada, and the nations of Europe each provide and train crew members who operate this space station.
We have come to know each other very well, to really enjoy each other's company, enjoy working together. I consider them very close friends.
При нашем взаимодействии внутри корабля мы отталкиваемся прежде всего от целей и задач, почему именно мы сидим в этом корабле. И поэтому у нас никаких особых проблем во взаимодействии, никаких нет, в силу нашей профессиональной способности.
I think each country has its unique strengths and good part and also a weakness. So if we cooperate each other, we can cover the other nations' weak part and help each other.
Over the years, the partners have contributed the vehicles that bring human beings to orbit, and the ones that make regular deliveries of supplies and materials, plus all the hardware and samples to operate a set of scientific laboratories and experiments that are achieving things that couldn't be done on Earth. The results? in terms of science and technology development, are out of this world.
Having different perspectives, either different scientific perspectives, different international perspectives, has helped bring strength to the work that we do. We've gotten to work with some incredible people around the globe, and we found what we think are some significant findings.
The alpha magnetic spectrometer is a high-energy particle physics experiment designed to study cosmic rays, antimatter, and dark energy. There's 15 countries, about 600 engineers, physicists, scientists, technicians, about 60 different institutes, universities, all over the planet. You get the interaction of all these people, and in the end, you have something that's a whole lot better than what you have done by yourself.
Each space agency takes responsibility for a part of the mission by operating a control room in their own country, which focuses on daily operations in their own labs and modules. The heart of the overall operation is at NASA's Mission Control Center in Houston, where a team coordinates what all the partners are doing.
The Ops Plan team takes all of the requirements handed down from the ISS program, from the international partners, from the flight control team, and from the science community. And we integrate all of those requirements into a timeline, and we uplink it to the crew, and that's how the crew knows what to do on a given day.
With all that effort, over all these years, the partners in the International Space Station have created something that's already provided benefits on Earth and encouraged the growth of a commercial space industry, and is perfectly positioned to continue that mission, supporting future human exploration into deep space.
If you think about all the capability that's on the space station today, it brought out the best in each of the partners. The only way for exploration to be successful is to have that global partnership together as we have had so far with the space station.
We're going to use the technology of the ATV, 5 very successful ISS resupply missions, to make this incredible contribution to the Orion spacecraft. So the service module will be a very critical part to the Orion spacecraft. It will provide power, it will provide thermal control, and most importantly, it will provide propulsion to the crew module.
Building on the robotics technology we developed to support the space shuttle program and then to assemble the space station, Canada's developed a next-generation Canadarm. This is a state-of-the-art suite of robotics prototypes that will be able to support the critical next steps in exploring the solar system.
У нас в России есть такая поговорка, что один ум хорошо, а 2 еще лучше. Но 2 и 3 это гораздо лучше, потому что, работая в кооперации международной, люди гораздо лучше начинают понимать друг друга.
Better understanding and a common goal combine for a great future out there.
As we noted there, the International Space Station is a project that is preparing us for future exploration of space, and that includes a future space vehicle. Well, NASA's Johnson Space Center right now is the center of activity leading the design and build-up for a critical safety test for America's new exploration spacecraft. An Orion crew module was delivered to Houston last week to begin assembly and outfitting for the April 2019 Ascent Abort 2 test. That's a test that will demonstrate the ability of the spacecraft's launch abort system to pull the crew module to safety if an emergency were ever to arise during an ascent to space. And doing this work here at JSC is part of a lean approach to development in order to minimize cost and schedule risks that are associated with that test.
Booster ignition and liftoff of Shuttle Discovery. Combate Kudasai.
Be sure to check in with nasa.gov and our other social media sites. We'll be giving you progress reports on the preparation of that Orion crew module. If you'd like another look at any of the stories that we featured today, check us out on YouTube and on Facebook. They're in the addresses right there in the handy blue box on your NASA TV screen. While you're there, by the way, take a look at all the other stuff that you can find about NASA and America's human spaceflight program. And if you're interested in good conversation about space exploration, check out Houston, We Have a Podcast. It features folks here at NASA talking about their work and their personal experiences on the job. And we post new episodes on Fridays. Today, March 9th, my colleague Gary Jordan talks with Jeff Fox of the Rapid Prototype Lab here at the Johnson Space Center. They're discussing the development and testing of the Orion spacecraft. And in fact, they will play the audio recorded inside the capsule during its first flight test last year, earlier, so that you can virtually experience that ride. Go to www.nasa.gov/Johnson/HWHAP. As in Houston, we have a podcast. You can find all the episodes there, and you can listen to them. Also, you can find them on SoundCloud and on iTunes. This is Mission Control, Houston.